News at 5.
Everything that happened was just terrible, but we are blessed. We are blessed because we're alive.
My cousins did not deserve to lose their life. They had children, hard-working people. All they was doing was enjoying the night on the town, and they're dead. Never to come home again, never to see their family again. They're gone.
Anger and sadness after 29 people were killed in 2 separate mass shootings over the weekend, one in Dayton, Ohio, the other in El Paso, Texas. Thank you for joining us. I'm James Fletcher.
And I'm Daria Folsom, and we have much more on both of these shootings, with 29 people being killed this weekend in those shootings in Texas and Ohio. Team coverage of what happened and remembering the victims this morning. We're also starting to learn more about the gunman in those 2 attacks. For
more on this, we want to go to our live reporter on the scene, Karen Kafa, joining us right now in Dayton, Ohio, with the very latest on where the investigations stand in both of these shootings. Again, both within a span of 24 hours.
Yesterday afternoon, police here said they were sorting through so much information that it would be premature to speculate on any kind of motive. But while they go about that work, the rest of Dayton is mourning. There are messages scrawled in chalk on the sidewalks that say Dayton strong, love, faith, and gun control now as they mourn those 9 victims. Thousands gathered in the Oregon district of Dayton, Ohio Sunday to pray and remember the people who were killed during a mass shooting in the early hours of Sunday morning, ending the lives of people like 25-year-old Thomas McNichols.
He was a gentle giant, loved his family, loved his kids.
Officials say the gunman started shooting around 1 a.m. near the Ned Peppers bar.
Hey, we have an active shooter on 5th Street.
Everybody's just screaming and running, just trying to get away.
Surveillance video shows police who were on patrol nearby responded to the scene in under a minute. Police say the suspect was able to fire dozens of shots, killing 9 and injuring 27 others before he was killed by police.
The officers immediately advanced toward the gunfire, and within approximately 20 seconds, they engaged a suspect who was actively firing and attempting to enter a crowded liquor establishment. Threat was neutralized in approximately 30 seconds of the suspect firing his first shots.
Officials say that quick response saved lives.
The assailant was obviously very, very close to being able to kill dozens and dozens more people.
And today we are learning more about the 9 victims here. Sinclair Community College here in Dayton said 2 of the victims, Lois Oglesby, 27 years old, and Logan Turner, 30 years old, were both former students at the school. Another victim, 25-year-old Nicholas Coomer, had just finished up an internship here at the Maple Tree Cancer Alliance. He was due to receive a master's degree. Live in Dayton this morning, I'm Karen Kafa. Now back to you.
Thank you, Karen.
Then there are the 20 people who were killed and many more wounded at this Walmart at a mall in El Paso, Texas. The 21-year-old shooter is supposed to be facing state capital murder charges for that. He could face hate crime and federal firearm charges as well. Among those killed at the Walmart, a couple who died shielding their 2-month-old son.
Baby Paul was recovered from the crime scene with his mother on top of him, and we got word that Andre had jumped in front of his wife to protect his wife and son throughout the whole circumstance.
So the little baby lived and the parents were killed. 7 Mexican nationals were among those who were gunned down. Mexican authorities are looking into possibly requesting extradition of the gunman because of that. The details about this shooting, apparently he drove 10 hours specifically to this community because there is such a high number of immigrants who live in El Paso. Coming up in the 5:30 half hour, we're going to go live to El Paso and hear more about those who were killed in this tragedy. And then at 7 o'clock, we expect President Trump to address the nation about the mass shootings.
So more to come on that front. In the meantime, let's get you caught up on weather and traffic, and then we'll get back to the headlines. So, John, what are we looking at weather-wise?
Well, guys, as far as weather goes, we are off to a cool and cloudy start this morning. Looking outside at the Golden Gate Bridge, just one of our spots that are also dealing with a little bit of fog to kick off this morning. Visibility falling below a mile in Half Moon Bay and Novato, and you are going to be seeing fog stretching through much of the next few hours. By 11:45 before noon today, you do have plenty more sunshine returning to our inland areas across the bay. But even as that sunshine returns, you're going to notice some cloud cover hanging out into the afternoon. It's because as fog departs, we're still going to hold on to these clouds, not just today, but tomorrow and Wednesday as well. A cloudier and cooler start to the week than what we saw over the weekend. Your daytime highs falling out of the 90s on average inland and back into the 80s today. I have more in your forecast still to come. Robin?
Thank you, John. We're taking a peek at the Bay Bridge traffic, and we have some crowding off and on in the cash lanes and the fast track lane. So it's getting busy out there, but it's not bad. It's still a very decent commute into San Francisco. This is just a sign that your morning commute's picking up. So we're at 12 minutes and growing. That's to make it from the bottom of the Maze to Fremont Street. That's a great average. I do have word of an overturn, but it's off the road on the shoulder, eastbound 580 Hop Yard. Some other folks have pulled over to assist. There's a lot going on. It's on the shoulder right now, but we do have crews heading out to the scene, so I'll be monitoring the sensors. So far, it's not causing much of a delay. 101 looks good. San Jose to Menlo Park at 27 minutes. We'll check more coming up. Daria, James.
Thanks, Robin. 5:05. The city of Gilroy is still mourning the lives lost at the mass shooting there at the Garlic Festival.
Yeah, 1 week ago, the mass shootings from over that weekend is a reminder of the tragedy that happened, of course, here in the Bay Area. As we've got a number of these events now stacking up on each other. KRON 4's Will Tran joining us live with the very latest, again, from Gilroy. Will?
James, Daria, I'm in front of a coffee shop, and so I've got a chance to interview a couple of people this morning, and they are numb. They're still reeling from what happened exactly 1 week ago at the Gilroy Garlic Festival, and then over the weekend they heard about the 2 mass shootings, and they went from just numb to disgusted to outraged. Their sentiment this morning is, we did not want another community to feel what we're feeling, and unfortunately 2 other communities have strong attached to their names. Dayton Strong, and then now El Paso Strong. Let me show you video from over the weekend as far as the scene. The FBI and local law enforcement agencies are still at the Gilroy Garlic Festival. They're still processing the scene, looking for evidence, so it's still shut down over the weekend as they try to find out a motive behind this massacre that took place exactly 1 week ago and a few hours, at exactly 5:41 on Sunday evening, just about 90 minutes before the festival was going to close for the year. A gunman burst onto the scene, bypassing the metal detectors, cut through a fence, and shot at people, killing 3 people. 2 of them kids, and injuring 16 others. At this point, they simply don't have a definitive motive behind the massacre. We will talk to people from Gilroy, and I can tell you they are just numb from what happened, because let's face it, they haven't even developed a scab yet. They've had vigils all week. They haven't even developed a scab yet over what happened, and to hear what happened in the other 2 communities, the word heartbroken. James, Daria.
All right, thank you very much, Will.
5:07 right now. Police in the East Bay are looking for help to solve a pair of home invasions that happened within hours of each other. Both of these break-ins happened in Albany and involved a person sneaking in through an unlocked door or an open window. A man with a flashlight snuck into a house in the 500 block of Keynes Avenue about 11:30 Friday night. And what the man didn't know is that somebody was in the home sleeping. And when that person woke up, the burglar ran off. Officers responded then as well to another home. This one was on Taft Street, and the person living there was also in home when the home invader came in. Neighbors say this is unusual for that community.
Just by hearing about it, it just kind of like surprises me, especially in Albany, you know, because it's just so quiet. Like, there's nothing happening. It's boring, you know. So like when you hear something like this, everybody just kind of freaks out, and you know, like people are like, oh my God, what's next? What's gonna come? Like, you know.
Well, the good news is that nobody was hurt. They don't even know if anything was taken in either case. 5:08, and right now Marsh Creek Road remains closed in Contra Costa County. Crews are putting out the Marsh Complex fire there, which is burning just north of Mount Diablo and Clayton. It's between Morgan Territory Road and Deer Valley Road that they are closing so the crews can mop up from that fire. Only residents who live along Marsh Creek Road are allowed to use the roadway. That fire burned about 655 acres. It is 85% contained right now. There was a shelter in place for the residents in that area, but that has since been lifted.
Well, new this morning, 2 people were displaced after a fire destroyed their home overnight in Vallejo. And this is video from the Vallejo Fire Department showing the scene. It broke out around 11 o'clock last night on Severus Drive, just west of Highway 29. It took firefighters about 30 minutes to put it out. Luckily, nobody was hurt. The family of Finnegan Elder, one of the Bay Area teens accused of murder in Italy, is now fighting to bring their son home. Last week, the 19-year-old's father and their attorney visited Elder in prison. Elder and his 18-year-old friend, Gabriel Natali Yorth, were arrested last month after police say they killed police officer Mario Rega during an undercover drug deal. One of the teens can be seen carrying a backpack that was allegedly stolen during the encounter. Italian police say both teens confessed to taking part in the assault, but Elder's father says there's more to the story.
The truth will set you free. We look forward to the truth coming out and to our son coming home.
Well, neither Elder nor Yorth has been indicted. Italian authorities can hold suspects for up to a year before charges are actually filed.
5:10 on the peninsula. A man is in jail after a standoff that lasted more than 24 hours in Palo Alto. Police arrested 29-year-old Adam Allen Smith after they got him out of a home where he was held up with a gun. Officers responded to the 300 block of Tennessee Lane near Robles Park on Friday because of a report of a domestic incident. A woman was being held in that home and was unable to get out, and after a 29-hour standoff, the police arrested Smith. Now he faces domestic violence and felony charges. Happening today, the 19th Street BART station in Oakland is only going to be accepting Clipper cards. BART is phasing out paper tickets at certain stations, so you're going to have a Clipper card, reusable, reloadable plastic Clipper card. In 2 weeks, the Embarcadero station will go Clipper only. If you still have a paper ticket, you can still use it to enter and exit the stations for as long as there is money on that paper card. Still ahead on the Crown 4 Morning News, Governor Newsom is calling on federal lawmakers to take action on gun control after the deadly shooting in Gilroy. And smash and grab robbery in the East Bay. We're going to show it to you and hear from neighbors. Plus, after the break, the trade war with China is heating up, how it could end up costing you money.
This morning shows your temperatures in the 50s and 60s, which is a familiar territory for your morning hours. I'm talking where we're heading next into the afternoon, still ahead in your forecast.
And we already have a crowd at the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza. There it is. The cash lanes and the fast track lanes are filling in quickly, so a busy commute into San Francisco, but we'll check more bridges after the break.
5:29. Let's get back to our top story, which are the mass shootings that over 13 hours this weekend claimed 30 lives, actually 29 lives 30, lost over the weekend.
Investigators right now trying to piece together details in both of those. One was in Dayton, Ohio, the other in El Paso, Texas. That one, the deadlier of the two, when a gunman opened fire on back-to-school shoppers in a Walmart, killing 20 and injuring more than a dozen others.
Steffi Lee is live this morning at the Walmart shooting in El Paso with the very latest.
Now, good morning from El Paso. You can see behind me this memorial has grown significantly outside this Walmart where the shooting happened. People have been stopping by to pay their respects off and on this morning. You can see the signs that say El Paso Strong. That is the theme within this community. And this memorial is one of several ways people have shown their support to the community as law enforcement continue to investigate the crime scene and try to piece together what exactly happened in this deadly attack. Now, over the weekend, they held 2 2 vigils on Sunday evening, one at the Las Americas Immigrant Advocacy Center and an interfaith vigil at a local park not far from this Walmart. El Pasoans lit candles over there and stood together, also highlighting and continuously pressing back on the theme about being El Paso strong. One local nurse we spoke to says she witnessed that type of strength among her hospital staff working with families over the weekend.
And it's always busy in ICU, it's always busy in ER, but there was just a silence where you don't hear anything, but you feel the love and you feel the strength that we have in this community.
Now, blood donations have played an important role to help the people who were injured in this shooting. Law enforcement agencies are also asking people to set up appointments to make donations. Now, we are expected to get an update at some point later today from El Paso Police as well as the FBI, and we'll bring those updates to you once we get more information. Live in El Paso, Steffi Lee, KRON 4 News.
All right. Thank you very much, Steffi.
Another big story that we are following this morning, 9 people were killed when a gunman opened fire in Dayton, Ohio. There was a vigil last night in the district where those were killed. It was a nightlife area. The gunman just opened fire outside of a bar. There's surveillance video, and it shows that there were people on the scene being gunned down, but the cops got there within 30 seconds because they were nearby. Still, the gunman was able to kill 9 and injure many more as he got dozens of shots off before the police got there.
The officers immediately advanced toward the gunfire, and within approximately 20 seconds, they engaged a suspect who was actively firing and attempting to enter a crowded liquor establishment. Threat was neutralized in approximately 30 seconds of the suspect firing his first shot.
Roadblocks, as you can see, are still up in front of the home where the shooter lived in Ohio, and included in those that he killed, his own sister, Megan, was shot and killed. Coming up at the 7 o'clock hour, we're expecting the president to address the nation about these mass shootings, and we'll carry that address live right here on KRON 4. We'll also have it streaming if you have our KRON On app. That's a great way to get the news on the go, so stay tuned for that.
All right, the time now is 5:33. Let's get a check of weather and traffic, and we need to begin in the traffic center with Robin. I guess we have a hot spot this morning, Robin.
Yes, we have 3 hot spots. All are overturned crashes, and they just happened back to back. Right at the Castro Valley San Leandro split, major accident here involving a semi-truck that flipped over on its side. This is eastbound 580 right after the 238 split. Crews are still responding to the scene. This is pretty fresh, and at last check, all lanes are blocked. So you're back up spilling onto 238, and it's almost backed up to the Nimitz Freeway. So that's something you want to keep in mind and consider getting on the freeway. If you want to take 580, get on after 238 if you can. On the Oakland side, I have a major trouble spot. This is also an overturned accident. Now, this is eastbound 580. This happened right around Seminary. It also involves 2 cars and a truck. One of those vehicles has flipped over. I believe it's an RV with a camper that may be across all lanes of traffic, but it's unclear if that's the vehicle that flipped over or if something else flipped over, but all lanes are blocked. So we have a big mess here in Oakland, East 580 after Seminary, and CHP just issued a special traffic alert for that one too. And then I'll take you down to the South Bay where the Oakland Road on-ramp to northbound 101, which is the commute direction there in San Jose, another overturn. A car just flipped over. It's blocking the ramp so far, not the freeway, just the ramp, but traffic is stacking up from the 280, 680 split. So a third major problem of your morning commute. I'll stay on top of all 3, and I'll give you an update coming up, another update coming up in just a bit. John?
Robin, the last thing we need on a Monday morning is a slowdown on the roads. At least weather is cooperating this morning. We do have some fog out there, which is causing you some visibility issues a little closer to the coast. But from the Lick Observatory, things are looking nice up there. There's your first dose of sunshine across the bay as of right now. Now, as for Oakland, Novato, and Half Moon Bay, we do have some issues as far as visibility goes due to that fog, so watch out for these spots. Napa and Santa Rosa will be seeing also some lowered visibility at times this morning. So give yourself that extra time to get to work, maybe seeing a slowdown in traffic, not just because of other people on the roads, but also because of that fog this morning. Even as we move into the afternoon and fog does eventually clear out, we're still going to be holding on to partly cloudy to mostly cloudy skies. Now, thanks to all these clouds, temperatures are going to start the process of cooling down for the week ahead of us. That means daytime highs today back into the 60s, 70s, and 80s, saying goodbye to most of our 90s we saw over the weekend, and even cooler weather just around the corner, which I'll talk more about still to come. James?
All right, thank you very much, John. Time now 5:36. The city of Gilroy is still in mourning from last week's deadly shooting at the Garlic Festival. Christmas Hill Park, as we know, is still being treated as a crime scene. It is still closed off to the public. Investigators are continuing to sift through about 50 acres of land searching for evidence. 3 people were killed in that shooting. More than a dozen others were injured. The city is sharing the pain with Texas and Ohio as they still try and work through their own pain themselves.
They're frightened and afraid, and certainly upset about what happened, and particularly those that were that had family members that perished in that event. So we're unfortunately, we're very familiar with what they're going through.
It's a really, really deep tragedy and a very, very deep sadness, and it's an incredible struggle for everybody, but it's also giving us an opportunity to be thankful.
The festival grounds will remain a crime scene for at least the next few days. A fundraiser, by the way, was held for the youngest victim killed in the shooting at the Gilroy Garlic Festival. Dozens of people showed up to a car wash Saturday in Sunnyvale for 6-year-old Stephen Romero. Romero's mother and grandmother were also shot at that festival, but they are expected to survive. Many drivers waited patiently for the opportunity to support the child's family during this event. First responders also worked with friends of the family to organize that car wash.
It could have been any of us, man. It could have been any of our kid. I have a 7-year-old boy, a 10-month-old daughter, so it could have been anybody. It just really hits home when it's somebody that age. I just honestly doesn't deserve that. I just felt like we had to do it, you know.
Friends and family have already raised more than $67,000 online for the Romeros.
In the wake of the Garlic Festival shooting, Governor Newsom is calling on the federal government to take action. Since the shooter managed to bypass California's gun laws, purchasing that assault weapon in Nevada and bringing it back into our state. Federal data shows in recent years, more than half of the guns recovered from crime scenes in California came from another state. So now the governor says it is up to the federal government to take control.
We need a national background check system. We need to close the gun show loopholes. We need to address the absurdity that you can't even rent a car at 19, let alone drink, but you can buy a weapon of war and gun down 12, 15 people. It's absurd. I mean, that's extremism, and the current debate in this country is not adequate to address another crisis.
Nevada is the second biggest supplier of guns recovered at crime scenes in California. The number 1 is Arizona. Still ahead on the Crown 4 Morning News, a smash and grab robbery in the East Bay. It's caught on camera. We're going to see it and hear from the neighbors.
Now, from the Bay Area's local news station, you're watching the Crown 4 Morning News at 8.
We must honor the sacred memory of those we have lost by acting as one people. Open wounds cannot heal if we are divided.
President Trump speaking within the last hour about the 2 mass shootings that happened over the weekend.
We had 9 people shot and killed in Dayton, Ohio, 20 others killed in El Paso, Texas. And on this Monday morning, we are reeling and hundreds are mourning. The country mourning in general following those deadly shootings. We have team coverage about all of that in the next hour.
Yeah, so many people when you think about it between those 2 shootings. This is the scene outside of the bar in Dayton, Ohio, where a gunman opened fire, killing 9. You can see everybody running for cover there. He shot and killed among the victims his own sister. And then before that, within 13 hours, there were 2 shootings. Before that, it was in El Paso, Texas, right, at this big mall where there's a Walmart. And this is a community that has a lot of immigrants. Apparently, this gunman was upset with them, drove there and opened fire with an automatic rifle, killing 20 people.
We want to go to El Paso, Texas right now with Whitney Wild.
That 21-year-old shooter is now sitting in a local jail this morning. He's facing state capital murder charges. This as a community mourns immeasurable loss.
2 amazing humans were stripped from us, and their babies are left now parentless.
Jordan and Andre Anchondo, parents of 3 young children, were among those killed Saturday. They had dropped off their oldest at cheerleading practice before heading to Walmart to do some back-to-school shopping. They died shielding their 2-month-old son.
Baby Paul was recovered from the crime scene with his mother on top of him, and we got word that Andre had jumped in front of his wife to protect his wife and son throughout the whole circumstance.
86-year-old Angie Englesby was in the store's checkout line when the gunman walked in. She had been on the phone with one of her sons just minutes before. They spent hours waiting for word about her. Sunday, they found out she was among those killed. Army veteran and bus driver Arturo Benavides, age 60, was known all throughout the community, according to his niece. She described him as someone who would give you the shirt off his back. 7 Mexican nationals were also killed Saturday in the border town.
In one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy.
Federal authorities are considering filing charges under domestic terrorism. They're also considering filing federal hate crime and firearms charges. That could mean the death penalty for this shooter. Live in El Paso, I'm Whitney Wild.
Thank you, Whitney.
All right, from El Paso, now let's give you the latest from the shooting that happened after that killed 9 people and injured dozens, and that was in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, in an area of town popular with nightclubs and restaurants. A vigil was held in that section of town last night, and you can see the candles that were lit. The gunman, as we understand, started shooting near a bar, and surveillance video actually shows police who were on patrol nearby responding to the scene in under a minute. But in that time, the gunman was able to fire dozens of shots before he was ultimately killed by police.
Police ended up shooting the gunman immediately, and that's what they say saved so many other lives.
I thought I was about to die to the officer. He was like standing over the top of me, like, and he started shooting at the guy. So he saved everybody that was out here.
This is my town, and this is where I hang out and with my friends. I mean, it could have been my friends. It could have been me and my family.
People can just go and buy guns and, not even be registered or not even qualified. They can just walk into a gun store and buy high-powered equipment and walk right out and kill people in broad daylight, broad nighttime. You know what I'm saying? Like, this has got to stop. My cousins did not deserve to lose their life. They had children, hard-working people. All they was doing was enjoying the night on the town, and they're dead.
And there's the gunman who's also dead. He was shot by the police, 24-year-old Connor Betts, who, among the victims, killed his own sister, Megan, who was apparently outside that club as well in a car with her boyfriend. She was shot and killed.
Police still trying to determine a motive behind that shooting. We'll let you know when we find out more. In the meantime, we will continue to update you on both of these shootings. Just tune into not only our broadcast, but also download the Cron On app. That's where we'll provide 24-hour streaming service throughout the day.
8:04 is the time right now. I want to get a look at weather and traffic on this Monday morning, and let's go first to the traffic center.
Yes, crews have still not uprighted and cleared this overturned RV. Check out this photo. We got this from the Oakland Police Department. They're on scene right along 580, assisting CHP with a major accident that happened shortly after 5 o'clock. You see that SUV on its side and shattered in pieces? It was stolen. The driver crashed with another vehicle. That vehicle ran off the road. This is all still going on. It's under investigation East 580 between Seminary and Edwards. So it happened at 5 this morning, but look at the backup that it's causing to your morning commute or for your morning commute. We'll switch over to Traffic Tracker. There's one lane open, and East 580 is stacked up beyond High Street. It's also impacting your westbound commute. Although nothing's blocked on the westbound side, everybody has to slow down and take a look. So it's a mess out of San Leandro. You may just want to stay away from 580 altogether because we do not have an estimated time of clearing. It's a little crowded on the Nimitz, but for now, it's better than 580. So that's something to keep in mind and leave extra early as crews are still dealing with this crash. We'll check in on some more slowdowns and Bay Area bridges coming up in a bit. John?
Well, Robin, it's not just crowded on the roads, but the skies are packed with some fog this morning. morning. You do see that over the Golden Gate Bridge. Not that you'd be able to tell that was the bridge from looking at this cam right here. It is definitely packed in right along the Golden Gate. And then also seeing some dense fog stretching out into the East Bay, up and down the coast. At times this morning, areas like Oakland and Hayward have seen visibility falling below a mile. Now, fog has already begun its retreat for parts of our inland Bay Area, such as the East Bay, but it's going to stay pretty present along the coast, even into the afternoon. Something else you're going to see into the afternoon, an increase in cloud cover today. After heavy morning fog, areas like Oakland will be in for a partly cloudy afternoon ahead. Daytime highs cooler than they were this weekend, into the low 70s for Oakland, and for San Jose, cooling into the low 80s today. More in your forecast is still to come. Daria and James.
Thanks a lot. 8:06 is the time, and the city of Gilroy is still reeling from the big shooting that we had at the Garlic Festival.
Yeah, and then just within less than a week, we had these 2 mass shootings over the weekend, and that's, of course, bringing up more memories and more moments of mourning and condolences for the people of Gilroy. We've got KRON 4's Will Tran live there this morning. And Will, I have to imagine with people you've been talking to this morning, they have to be just exasperated that this is still continuing.
They're not shocked. They're just sad and like, again, let us be the bearer of bad news, so to speak. Let us feel the pain. And all of a sudden now, over the weekend, they know 2 other communities in the country feel exactly the way that they're feeling, and they're still healing, and now they're really bleeding from the heart and emotionally because of what's going on in El Paso and Dayton. So before we get reaction, let me show you the very latest on what's going on. The crime scene, which is about 2 miles from my location, we're here to get reaction, but the Gilroy Garlic Festival grounds still considered a crime scene, as the FBI and other law enforcement agencies have shut it down and have ever since Sunday, when a 19-year-old gunman bypassed the metal detectors, went through the fence, legally purchased assault rifle and started shooting at people at the festival. And James and Daria, it was about 90 minutes from shutting down for the year when all of a sudden shots rang out. 3 people were killed. 2 of them were kids, 16 others injured. If it wasn't bad enough, they woke up on Sunday morning to back-to-back shootings. And we came here specifically to get reaction from people from Gilroy. But here's a woman from Southern California who probably echoes what everybody or most people in the country is feeling at this very moment.
Makes you scared to get out of the house, and you go just innocently to the store, and you don't know what you're going to expect. You go to a Costco, because it happened in Costco in my community up in Temecula. It could happen anywhere. Walmart. You're not safe anywhere.
You were saying that you were talking to your husband about shootings?
Yes, like we're afraid, we're going to go to a store or get gas somewhere, and you don't know where it's going to erupt.
You don't know when it's going to erupt. And I talked to another woman. She's from Gilroy, and she said with school starting in a couple of weeks, that sense of fear, sadness is even more elevated because of what's going on, not just in Gilroy, but now we know in 2 other communities. And sadly, James and Daria, we're in news. We know this. It's not a matter of if, according to a lot of people, but when it will happen again. More reaction coming up at 9 o'clock. Back to you.
Sad to say, but you're right, Will. Thank you.
8:09, police in the East Bay are looking for help to solve some home invasions, 2 home invasions that happened within hours of each other. They don't know if they're connected, but they both happened in Albany. A person snuck in through an unlocked door or an open window in each case. In one case, it was a man with a flashlight who got into a house in the 500 block of Keynes Avenue about 11:30 Friday night. Somebody was in the home sleeping, and when they woke up and saw the burglar took off. And then there was another home that someone snuck into on Taft Street, and there was a person home at that time as well, and that person saw the man take off. In both cases, they don't even know if anything was taken.
Just by hearing about it, it just kind of like surprises me, especially in Albany, because it's just so quiet. Like, there's nothing happening. It's boring, So like when you hear something like this, everybody just kind of freaks out, and like people are like, oh my God, what's next? What's gonna come? The
good thing is that nobody got hurt. Happening now, Marsh Creek Road is still closed this morning in Contra Costa County because crews are still putting out the Marsh Complex fire, which is burning just north of Mount Diablo in Clayton. Morgan Territory Road and Deer Valley Road, that area is what's closed because they're mopping up and still wrapping up the fire. It's 85% contained. People who live along Marsh Creek Road, those are the only people who can use that roadway right now. It has burned 655 acres so far, but the shelter in place that was issued immediately when the flames broke out, that has since been lifted.
New this morning, 2 people are displaced after a fire destroyed their home overnight in Vallejo. And you can see in the video here from the Vallejo Fire Department what it was like when the fire was burning. It broke out around 11 o'clock last night on Severus Drive. That's just west of Highway 29. It took firefighters about a half hour to put it out. Luckily, nobody was hurt. Also in the news, the family of Finnegan Elder, one of the Bay Area teens accused of murder in Italy, is fighting to bring their son home. Last week, the 19-year-old's father and their attorney visited Elder in prison. Elder and his 18-year-old friend, Gabriel Natali Yorth, were arrested last month after police say they killed Officer Mario Rega during an undercover drug deal. One of the teens in security video can be seen carrying a backpack that was allegedly stolen during the encounter. Italian police say both teens confessed to taking part in the assault, but Elder's father says there's more to the story.
The truth will set you free. We look forward to the truth coming out and to our son coming home.
Neither Elder nor Yorth has been indicted. In fact, Italian authorities can hold suspects for up to a year before charges are filed.
It's 8:11 and still ahead on the Crown 4 Morning News. Governor Newsom is calling on federal lawmakers to do something to stop the gun violence. And a smash and grab robbery in the East Bay caught on camera. We'll hear from neighbors.
BART is transitioning away from paper tickets. Coming up in a live report, I'll tell you which BART station starting today will only be accepting these Clipper cards.